Jungkook was growing desperate as he followed his mother around the house, pleading with every ounce of determination he could muster. "Mom, please," he said, his tone somewhere between coaxing and exasperated. His mother turned to him, clearly unimpressed. "Stop nagging me, kook. If he doesn't want to come to your office party, there's nothing I can do about it." Jungkook let out a frustrated sigh. "Mom, I have to go with my family," he emphasized, his words carrying an edge of urgency. She raised an eyebrow, her arms crossed. "Then take the baby too," she suggested pointedly, knowing full well the impracticality of it. "Oh, wait, you can't, can you? So, this isn't really about the party at all, is it? You just want some alone time with Tay. Admit it. He's been busy these days with our little cutie pie." Caught in the spotlight of her suspicion, Jungkook finally relented with a resigned groan. Fine, I admit it. I just need some time with Tay. But you have to help me here, Mom. If you don't, I'll let Tay go and stay with his grandma instead. And then you'll miss out on all the time with Gookie." His mother's sharp gaze narrowed. "Are you blackmailing me now?" "Blackmail? No, I'm just stating facts," Jungkook countered with a dramatic shrug. "Do you really want to stay away from Gookie? Imagine, she'll become his favorite granny instead of you." "Oh my God, Mom. Can you even live with that?" His mother huffed, shaking her head in disbelief. "You're such a meanie, kook. You'll do anything to get your way, won't you?" "I absolutely will," he said with a grin of triumph, sensing her resolve weakening. "Now go tell Tay you'll take care of Gookie." "I've got an hour left, Mom, so hurry." She rolled her eyes, waving him away. Fine. I'll convince him. Just go to the venue, the driver will drop Tay off." "Promise?" Jungkook asked, his voice softening with affection. "I love you, Mom." Yeah, promise," she replied, grumbling. But there was an undeniable fondness in her tone as she watched him dash off, already dialing for the driver. The party was lively, with officers, their families, and a distinguished air of camaraderie filling the venue. Jungkook, however, was far from relaxed. His eyes stayed glued to the entrance, his anticipation palpable. Jimin, ever observant, leaned closer with a mischievous smirk. "Is Tay coming?" he asked, his tone playful as he followed Jungkook's line of sight. "What do you think I'm waiting for?" Jungkook muttered, his words edged with impatience. "Chill out, man," Jimin teased, handing him a glass. "Have a drink. Relax a little." Jungkook took the drink but didn't sip, his frustration bubbling to the surface. "Ever since Gookie was born, I haven't had a single moment alone with Tay. These days, it's just him calling me over for napkins or snacks." "Who told you to become a dad so fast?" Jimin quipped with a smirk. Jungkook let out a soft chuckle despite himself. "Well, Gookie's adorable, so no regrets. By the way, congratulations on your wedding. It's around the corner, isn't it?" Jimin's grin widened. "Yeah, Hyung's hyped, and so am I," he said cheerfully. Then his eyes widened, lighting up as he spotted someone. "Oh, there's your twink. Look at him, glowing like the showstopper he is." The moment Taeyong stepped into the venue, Jungkook felt the world shift. Tay was breathtaking in his red leather jacket, his piercing eyes holding an intensity that made Jungkook's chest tighten. His lips shimmered under the bright lights, and his curls framed his face perfectly, adding to his magnetic allure. Tae's steps were slightly hesitant, and Jungkook couldn't help but mumble to himself, "Twink, I'm obsessed." Jimin nudged him playfully. "Go get him already. But remember, there are a bunch of cops here, nearly 200. Play it cool." Jungkook was about to head over to his husband when a young man intercepted Tae. "Hey, can I help you?" the man asked, his tone casual but overly familiar. Tae, visibly uneasy, replied softly, "No, I'm good." He glanced at Jungkook, seeking refuge from the awkward situation. The man, undeterred, pressed further. "So, who did you come here with?" Jimin nudged Jungkook. Why are you standing here, watching? Go. Jungkook's voice turned sharp, his words sending a chill through Jimin. I'm watching to see how far that jerk is going to take it. Who is he? He's the head officer's son, Jimin explained reluctantly. He's been abroad for years. Ah, the one who got into that drug-dealing mess you had to cover up. Jungkook's tone was cold, almost cutting. Jimin winced. I was forced, okay? And does he even know what he's doing now? Jungkook asked, his patience visibly wearing thin. Kook, just go. Don't make a scene. Tay will feel bad, Jimin urged, his voice low and pleading. Ignoring Jimin's advice, Jungkook strode across the room to Tay, slipping his arms protectively around him. Glad you made it, Twink, he murmured, his eyes softening as he looked at Tay. Tay's gaze brimmed with emotion as he whispered, June. Jungkook. Jungkook turned to the man with a glare that could freeze a room. He's my husband, he said firmly, his tone a clear warning. The man blinked in surprise. Oh, Jungkook. Your husband? Holy crap, he's hot. Jungkook's jaw tightened, his teeth clenching audibly. Tay, sensing the growing tension, placed a gentle hand on Jungkook's arm. Appa, please, no, he whispered, trying to calm him. Sensing the escalating situation, Jimin quickly intervened. Tay, I need your suggestions on something. Come with me, he said, steering Tay away from the brewing storm. But Jungkook's sharp gaze followed the man. Don't mess with me, kid, he said icily. The man smirked. I'm not a kid anymore. I've grown up. No, you haven't, Jungkook shot back. You've just added years to your age. People like you never really grow up. The man's response was a series of lingering, intrusive stares at Tay throughout the party. Jungkook noticed every single one, his patience rapidly wearing thin. Kook, don't. This is the retirement party for the head officer, Jimin whispered urgently. And you're about to inherit his position soon. Don't make this worse. I don't care, Jungkook hissed. My Tay is suffocating under his dirty eyes. When the man brazenly took a seat next to Tay, Jungkook's restraint snapped. Before Jimin could stop him, Jungkook hurled his whiskey at the man's face, the glass shattering the tense silence of the room. Without hesitation, he followed it up with a punch to the man's eye, then another to his face. Don't dare. Again, Jungkook growled, his voice low and menacing. The head officer stepped in, his authoritative voice slicing through the tension. Jungkook, stop. Jimin quickly intervened, trying to mediate. Jungkook's voice didn't waver as he addressed the head officer. Sir, I respect you, but remember, I still have the file on his illegal drug dealings. The head officer's face hardened. I'm capable enough to protect my son. And my father, Mr. John, has the means to buy an entire department if necessary. Tell your son to behave, or get him married if he's struggling with his impulses, Jungkook retorted. Tay, his fingers curling around Jungkook's sleeve, whispered softly, June, please. Jimin turned to the head officer. Sir, your son's behavior is out of line, and everyone here has noticed. The head officer, his patience strained, turned to his son. Go home. Right now. The man muttered a grudging apology and left the venue, his defeat evident. The head officer addressed the gathering, his tone firm yet composed. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue enjoying the evening. Don't let this incident dampen the celebration. Turning to Jungkook and Tay, he added, Jungkook, I apologize for his behavior. Taeyong, I hope you can still enjoy the evening. He offered a polite nod before stepping away. Jungkook, still fuming, grabbed another glass of whiskey and downed it, his anger simmering beneath the surface. Jimin sighed and turned to Tay with a weary smile. Good luck, buddy. Take him home before he punches someone else. The night was far from over as Jungkook strolled toward their car, his steps unsteady but determined. Taeyong followed closely, his concern growing with every passing second. Get in, Jungkook ordered, his voice slurred but firm. Tay, I said get in. Taeyong crossed his arms, standing his ground. No, I'm not. You're drunk, Appa. I'll drive. Jungkook turned to him, his eyes dark with intensity. You're already driving me crazy, he muttered, pinning Taeyong against the car. He leaned in, his breath warm against Taeyong's neck. All I want is, you, twink. Taeyong stiffened, his cheeks flushing. Jungkook. We're not home yet. Don't shout. Then get us home, Jungkook replied, his voice low and teasing. I'm in the mood. Taeyong shot him a glare, his patience thinning. I'm in the mood too, but to kill you. So don't talk to me. Did you get me? Jungkook smirked, unbothered by the threat. Ah, shoo, twink. Keep your voice down. What if my subordinates hear you shouting at me? I don't care, Taeyong snapped. Jungkook sighed dramatically, then dropped to his knees in front of him. Okay, sorry. Will you marry me, twink? Taeyong rolled his eyes, exasperated. Appa, we're already married. And we have a cute enemy at home. Why are you kneeling? Jungkook blinked, confused. Why did I kneel? Tell me. Aish, I forgot. I don't know, Taeyong muttered, dragging Jungkook into the car. As they drove home, Jungkook leaned back, watching Taeyong with a lazy grin. You drive well, twink. Wanna drive Appa? Taeyong scoffed. Jungkook, I can't believe you have such a dirty mouth. Of course I do, Jungkook said proudly. But I only use it with my twink. He reached over and grabbed Taeyong's hand. Appa, let go. Are you trying to get us killed? We have a kid at home, Taeyong scolded, his tone sharp. Jungkook groaned. He's my #1 enemy. No empathy, that kid. He should know his dad is hungry too. Always, Appa, Appa. Taeyong's eyes narrowed. Are you cursing our baby? Wait, you're sleeping outside tonight. Will you come with me? Jungkook asked, his voice softening. I love my babies. Trust me, Tae. Appa, you're so drunk. Please, keep quiet, Taeyong pleaded. Jungkook leaned back, his voice dropping to a whisper. Shoo. Nobody will speak. Only my twink will speak, and I'll listen. Scold me more, twink. When they finally parked, Taeyong stepped out and walked inside, leaving Jungkook to stumble after him. Did we reach already? That was too fast. Baby. Tay, listen, Jungkook mumbled, trailing behind. Inside, Taeyong was greeted by his mother-in-law. What's happening? Kook, are you drunk? She asked, her tone a mix of concern and disapproval. Head to toe, Taeyong replied, shaking his head. And Mom, it's because of you. Where's Gookie? He just woke up and is playing in your room, she answered. Jungkook grinned, his mood instantly lifting. Hi, Mom. Thank you, Mom. Don't hug me, she exclaimed, recoiling. Ah, you stink of alcohol. Dad drinks too, Jungkook pointed out. And don't tell me you don't like it. Oh, you unholy kid, she muttered, waving him off. Just go. Run behind your Tae. Jungkook didn't need to be told twice. He stumbled toward Taeyong, his focus unwavering. The night might have been chaotic, but for Jungkook, it was just another chapter in their whirlwind of a love story. The room was quiet except for the soft sounds of Gookie's giggles and the occasional rustle of Taeyong moving around as he changed. Gookie, wide awake, was throwing his tiny hands and legs in the air, his bright eyes fixed on his Appa as he moved about. Jungkook crouched beside the baby, his voice playful yet dramatic. Gookili, my cutie pie, you're awake, he cooed, watching as Gookie stared at him with curiosity. Buddy, you need to understand your dad's pain. You're not helping me at all. If you keep this up, I swear we're going to be enemies. Look, you can't keep wrapping my Tae in your cute little fist all the time. I have needs too, you know. Gookie responded with a string of baby babble, his tiny voice filling the room. Spy. GHDFGGJFGJJ. Jungkook chuckled, shaking his head. Yeah, ABCDEF. What needs do you have? Some bland food and cuddles? Your granny is jobless, she can help you. Final warning, sweetie. He sighed dramatically, leaning closer to the baby. See, Dada messed up tonight at the party. Someone was staring at our twink. He paused as Taeyong shot him a glare from across the room. I mean Tay. I was angry. You tell me, champ, what would you do if you were me? Gookie let out a loud hump, as if he understood. Jungkook grinned, nodding. Ah, see? You got it, my champ. That's why Appa is angry. From behind the closet, Taeyong hid a smile, watching the adorable interaction unfold. Jungkook's voice softened as he called out, Tay, I know you're watching us. Forgive me, twink. Taeyong stepped out, his expression amused but composed. Can you get some milk from the kitchen for Gookie? Jungkook straightened up immediately, saluting playfully. Right away, Highness. He hurried out of the room, only to hear the door click shut behind him. He turned back, realizing what had happened. You fooled me again. Open the door. Tay, open. Taeyong's voice came from the other side, calm but firm. This is your punishment. Spend the night in another room. Jungkook groaned, leaning against the door dramatically. I'll die. Oh, I'm dying, twink. I can't breathe. Suppressing his laughter, Taeyong replied, such a drama. Who even let you into the police department? I know you're laughing, twink. I can see you, Jungkook said, his tone turning pleading. At least give me my clothes to change. Can you even fall asleep without me by your side? Don't you want to? Should I ask the neighbor for help? With a sigh, Taeyong opened the door and pulled Jungkook inside. Don't shout such things while standing outside. Jungkook grinned mischievously as he stepped in. Can I shout inside? I want to get naughty. Can I? He teased, his voice low and playful. Taeyong rolled his eyes, shaking his head. You're impossible, Appa. But there was a hint of affection in his tone as he closed the door behind them. Taeyong's eyes sparkled with mischief as he pinned Jungkook to the wall, his hands pressing against his chest. With a sly smile, he slid his own shirt down, revealing his smooth skin. You can, Appa. Taeyong whispered, his voice husky as he turned around, pressing his back against Jungkook's body. Jungkook's eyes flashed with desire, his voice low and sultry. My, twink, all heated up. Taeyong's response was a breathy whisper. Yes, daddy. I'm in heat. Jungkook's groan was primal, his hands groping for Taeyong's privates. His mouth ravaged Taeyong's neck, earning a moan of pleasure that sent shivers down his spine. As Jungkook undressed Taeyong, his hands roamed over his naked body, sending waves of desire coursing through his veins. Did our cute enemy, Gookie, sleep? Jungkook whispered, his lips tracing a path down Taeyong's chest. Taeyong snuggled into Jungkook's chest, hiding his naked body and his blush. Yes. He whispered, his voice barely audible. Jungkook's arms wrapped around Taeyong, holding him close as he whispered, good, now it's just us, and our desire. The morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the room. Taeyong was nestled in Jungkook's arms, his face buried in the crook of Jungkook's neck, trying to hide the blush creeping up his cheeks. Stop smirking at me, Taeyong mumbled, his voice muffled against Jungkook's skin. Jungkook chuckled, his grin widening. I can't help it, twink. Yesterday, my baby tried to. Appa, stop. Taeyong cut him off, his tone a mix of embarrassment and warning. Or else, nothing tonight. Jungkook raised an eyebrow, his smirk turning playful. So, you've already planned tonight too? Taeyong huffed, pulling back slightly to glare at him. What? As if you don't want to. I want it every hour, Jungkook teased, his voice low and teasing. Where's my cutie enemy? Stop calling him that, Taeyong scolded, though his tone softened. He's our baby. Jungkook's expression turned tender as he nodded. Yes, he's my champ, my love. Don't worry, I love my gookie. Their sweet moment was interrupted by the sudden, loud ringing of Taeyong's phone. The sound cut through the peaceful morning, making Jungkook groan in annoyance. Who the F? Jungkook began, but Taeyong shot him a sharp look. Jungkook, don't you curse. What if it's Granny? Taeyong scolded as he reached for his phone. Jungkook muttered under his breath, crossing his arms as Taeyong answered the call. Yes, Taeyong here, he said politely. A voice on the other end, unfamiliar and unsettling, spoke with a strange mix of affection and demand. Taeyong, you forgot me. How could you, Tae? My lovely husband, I want to meet you. And you will come, without breathing a word to your cop husband. I'm not threatening you. I just want to talk. Taeyong's breath hitched, his grip on the phone tightening. Wrong number, he stammered before quickly disconnecting the call. His heart raced as he stared at the screen, his mind swirling with unease. Jungkook, noticing the shift in Taeyong's demeanor, frowned. Who was that? He asked, his voice laced with concern. Taeyong shook his head, forcing a small smile. No one important, he said softly, though his thoughts betrayed him. Something about that call didn't sit right, and he couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. The tension in the room was palpable as Daewon stood before Taeyong, his expression a mix of bitterness and longing. Taeyong's posture was rigid, his protective instincts kicking in as he glanced at Gookie, who was nestled safely in his arms. How are you, Tae? Daewon began, his voice laced with false warmth. Taeyong's reply was curt. Good. Very good. Daewon's lips curled into a bitter smile. Of course you are. Living with John must be good. And is this his baby? Cute. Taeyong's eyes narrowed, his tone sharp. Don't touch him, Daewon. How dare you even stand in front of me? Daewon's smile faltered, replaced by a look of frustration. Why not? How could you believe all the lies he told you? You believed that I sold you for money. You didn't even wait or want to confront me, Tae. You just swallowed what he said. Taeyong's grip on Gookie tightened, his voice steady but cold. Stop lying, Daewon. Stop. I've forgotten my past. My present is with them, and nothing is a lie. Daewon shook his head, his voice rising with desperation. You don't know him. Risking my life, I'm standing here. I know if he finds out, he'll kill me. But before that, you need to know the truth. The love, the life, the happiness, it's all built on a lie. He wanted you in his life, and he played it well. Everyone stood by him. The sad part is, my Tae believed it all and married him. Taeyong's voice wavered, but he held firm. That's not true, Daewon. Daewon's eyes darkened, his words cutting deep. Wow. So you think I sold you for money? To my chief's brother? Am I that much of a fool? Even if I wanted to make money, why would I take the risk of contacting my own superior officer's elder brother? That night, he abducted you from the hotel, Tae. He wronged you. And he shot me when I tried to stop him. Ask Jimin, he'll spill the truth. He couldn't see me dying, so he rescued me. Taeyong's resolve faltered for a moment, but he shook his head. That's not true, Daewon. Daewon's voice softened, tinged with sorrow. I never sold you, sweetheart. How could I? How could I, Tae? It was my mistake to bring you here. He saw you, and he was obsessed with your beauty. I knew it from the first day you came to the office. He sent me on a silly job just to get me out of the way. Whenever he visited home, he only wanted Taeyong in his life. Daewon's shoulders slumped as he continued, his voice heavy with regret. Anyway, live your happy life. I've lost everything, my Tae, my job, my pride. Taeyong's voice trembled, but his words were resolute. That's not true. That can't be. I won't believe you. Daewon's gaze hardened. Think about it. You were cheated. You fell into his trap. If you have any self-respect left, go back to your native place instead of being his toy. The room fell into an almost suffocating silence before Taeyoung's hand lashed out, striking Daewon across the face with force that echoed through the tense space. His words burned with conviction, each syllable sharp and unyielding. I am not a toy. I am his life. Daewon didn't flinch, though his cheek bore the sting of the slap. His expression settled into one of weary acceptance, his tone tinged with bitterness. Thanks, baby. Maybe this is all I deserve for respecting you. He hesitated for a moment, then stepped closer, his voice lowering to something conspiratorial, something meant to twist the knife. Before you storm off, take a look at this. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. The image he held out wasn't just pixels, it was a loaded weapon. Your oppa and his mom, sharing dinner with another family. Do you recognize them, Tay? Did your husband ever mention them? Let me enlighten you, the man at that table? That's his brother's husband, the same man you think I sold you to. Taeyoung's chest tightened, his breath catching. His grip on the door frame faltered for a fraction of a second before he steadied himself. Daewon's voice pressed on, relentless. Tell me, Tay, why weren't you invited to this cozy little family dinner? Are you even considered family in his eyes? Or are you just his, personal, pleasurable toy? The words hung in the air like poison, thick and suffocating. Without another word, Taeyoung turned on his heel, his head held high as he stormed out of the room. His heart pounded fiercely, each beat a reminder that the past could claw its way back but would never define him. Whatever shadows Daewon attempted to cast over his world, Taeyoung knew where his loyalty and love belonged, and he would protect it fiercely. The door clicked open, and Jungkook called out, his voice carrying a warmth that quickly turned to curiosity. I'm home, Twink. Where are you? His steps faltered when he spotted Gookie on the playmat, wriggling and babbling to himself. Gookie, how come you're alone? Where's your appa? The baby responded with an excited string of nonsensical sounds, his tiny fists flailing. Jungkook chuckled, bending down to scoop him up. Yes, I didn't understand a word, cutie. He kissed Gookie's cheek before looking around. Where are you? He called, his voice echoing through the quiet house. He wandered until he found Taeyoung seated on the balcony, his posture stiff and his gaze distant. Jungkook approached, his brow furrowed in concern. You're here, he said softly, holding Gookie closer. He was alone. Did you fight with appa, Gookie? He turned to his son, teasing lightly, but there was a hint of unease in his tone. Taeyoung stood as Jungkook reached him, walking toward his son as Gookie grinned and flapped his tiny hands at him. Jungkook's voice broke the brief silence, casual but carrying an edge. Did you meet an uncle today? He asked, his eyes narrowing slightly. Taeyoung froze, his expression shifting from calm to alarm in an instant. Jungkook didn't pause. What did he say, Gookie? Your appa should inform me, right? Right, Tay? His voice rose, sharp with restrained anger, as his gaze shifted from his son to his husband. Shouldn't you? He demanded, the tension in his voice palpable. Taeyoung's jaw tightened as he replied, his tone defensive. Yes, I met him. I didn't feel like telling you. So what? Jungkook's laugh was cold, almost bitter. So what? He repeated, his voice low before it rose into something harsher. Got lured by his charms, did you? You abandoned my kid and sat here dreaming. Jungkook, mind your words. Taeyoung's voice cut through like a blade, his eyes flashing with indignation. Why didn't you tell me? Jungkook demanded, his frustration boiling over as he grabbed Taeyoung's hand. The anger in his voice was laced with something deeper, something raw and vulnerable. Why should I? Taeyoung shot back, pulling his hand away. You and your mom don't tell me anything. You visited your brother's family, had dinner together. Who am I, Jungkook? Who am I? A fool? Jungkook's anger faltered for a moment before reigniting. Tay, don't react without knowing the truth. I know everything now, Taeyong replied, his voice trembling but firm. Jungkook's fists clenched at his sides. What the F*** do you think you know? Leave me alone, Jungkook, Taeyong whispered, his words barely audible but heavy with emotion. Leave me alone, before I hate you too much. Jungkook's expression twisted with disbelief. What did you say? You hate me? His voice cracked slightly as he stared at Taeyong. Yes, I do. I hate you, Taeyong said, his voice breaking, his eyes refusing to meet Jungkook's. For a moment, Jungkook said nothing, the weight of Taeyong's words sinking in. Slowly, he turned and walked to Gookie's crib, placing the baby down with a gentleness that contrasted starkly with the storm brewing inside him. When he straightened, his eyes were cold and distant. Then get out, Jungkook said, his voice low but cutting. Get out of my life. What are you even doing here? In my house, in my room? If you hate me, just leave. Right now. With those words, Jungkook stormed past Taeyong, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed through the quiet house, leaving Taeyong frozen in place, his heart pounding in his chest. And the aftermath of that moment was too unbearable for either of them to anticipate. Jungkook lit a cigar, the ember burning fiercely as he puffed with an almost obsessive intensity. His mind raced, replaying Taeyong's words over and over again, I hate you. How could Tay, utter those words? The thought sliced through him, sharp and unforgiving. His grip tightened on the steering wheel as his frustration boiled over. Slamming his palm onto the wheel, he pressed the accelerator, speeding through the city streets with reckless abandon. When he stormed into the police office, the air around him was electric with anger. His voice thundered through the room, commanding, fall in, all of you. Jimin, who had been chatting quietly with some officers, froze. His instinct screamed that something was very wrong. Kook, what's, he started, but his words trailed off as Jungkook shot him a glare that silenced him instantly. Jungkook's voice echoed with unrestrained fury. Who helped Daewon escape the hospital room? The officers exchanged uneasy glances, the tension in the room palpable. Jimin swallowed hard, his eyes darting around, searching for answers, or perhaps for a way to defuse the situation. Chief, Jimin said hesitantly. May I have a word? Jungkook wasn't having it. I want answers. Why wasn't I informed about his recovery? And who let him out? He roared, his voice shaking the very walls. Jimin's pulse quickened as panic set in. He could see the cracks forming, the chaos Jungkook's rage might unleash if it wasn't contained. Dismissed, Jimin barked to the gathered officers, his tone leaving no room for argument. As the others filed out, Jungkook's glare never wavered. Once the door clicked shut, Jimin turned to his friend, his expression both exhausted and exasperated. "Wanna shoot me for this?" he said bitterly. "Have you lost it, Kook?" Jungkook didn't back down, instead stepping closer. His voice was low and venomous. "Park Jimin, that bastard met my Tay today. I don't know what he told him, but I saw it, a different Taeyong, someone who wouldn't even look at me. Didn't I make myself clear? I want that man out of my life." Jimin exhaled slowly, gathering his thoughts. "Kook, I didn't know he was out of the hospital. Yes, I admit the doctor informed me that his condition was improving, but I didn't tell you." "Why?" "Because you were happy. For once, you had a peaceful life with your family. And he played with that same family today," Jungkook shot back, his tone icy and accusatory. Jimin ran a hand through his hair, his expression conflicted. "Why did Tay even meet him? Did you scold him?" Jungkook closed his eyes for a moment, his anger giving way to self-loathing. His voice dropped to a whisper, pained and raw. "I told him to get out of my house." Jimin's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? Kook, are you serious? You actually said that to Tay? I can't believe." Jungkook's fist slammed onto the desk, cutting him off. "What else was I supposed to say?" he snapped, his voice trembling. What do I say when he tells me he hates me? Jimin rubbed his temple, his mind racing. Do you have any idea where Daewon might be? You're asking me? Jungkook retorted, his frustration mounting. You think he'd dare to stay in our country after regaining consciousness? Jimin sighed, his tone turning reflective. We'll do something, kook. Jungkook scoffed bitterly. Do something? What can we do, huh? Legally, has he committed any crime? Can we even issue a lookout notice? On record, he served his nation and got shot during an operation. That's the only option I had, Jimin said quietly, his voice laced with regret. To save you from further interrogation. But don't worry, kook. We'll trace him. I'll take care of it. Jimin stepped closer, his tone more insistent. But first, you need to go to Tay. Sort things out with him. Don't let this fester. Your family comes first. Jungkook stood silent for a moment, his gaze distant, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Jimin's words hung in the air, a lifeline he wasn't sure he deserved, but one he knew he had to take.